Automatic sliding gates can be on driveways that slope across, even if it's quite steep. This is done by raking the gate, which means making the gate out of square so that it fits the slope of the driveway. But there is a little bit more to it than that. Firstly, the track the gate rolls on should be reasonably straight and on the same slope as the driveway. But how straight must the track be? Straight enough so the gate doesn't contact it anywhere in its travel, because this can stop the gate working altogether. If this does happen, the wheels can be packed out, which gives the gate more clearance, although it does raise the height of the gate a little, so it's a good idea to make the gate a little lower in the first place. If the slope of the ground gets steeper off the edge of the driveway, it must first be excavated, then have a concrete footing and retaining wall installed, along with any posts required. A sliding gate can then open into this cavity. The retaining wall must be high enough above ground to keep the footing clear of any dirt and debris. If the ground slopes down from the edge of the driveway, a metal footing can be used rather than a big chunk of concrete. A larger motor may be needed because it has to push the gate uphill. We're all familiar with what happens in a car when we go uphill. Well, the same applies to automatic gates. The heavier the gate, the steeper the slope, the more power the motor must have. If there's no palings or vertical slats fitted to the front of the gate, it may have a roller each side to guide it as it moves. If the top of the gate is level to match a stepped fence, or there are palings on the front of the gate, guide rollers can't be used. Instead, a guide rail is fitted on the top of the gate that slides through a nylon guide block that moves vertically in a channel fitted to a guide post. The channel must be long enough, of course, for this amount of movement. If opening uphill, the guide block moves up as the gate opens, so the guide post will need to be higher than the fence. If you don't want to see the guide post and channel from the road, then the guide rail can be set lower down on the gate. Then the guide post can be the same height or lower than the fence. When there is limited space for a sliding gate to open, it can be made up as two or more panels that stack one in front of the other. These are commonly known as telescopic or stacker gates, and can also be on a driveway that slopes across. Telescopic gates have other advantages apart from saving space. Firstly, for driveways that aren't all that straight, the bottom rail of each telescopic gate panel can have a different rake to fit the driveway better. And when the gate opens, two panels can ride over an uneven track much better than a single panel, a bit like the carriages of a train. Another advantage is if the ground slopes steeply up from the edge of the driveway, a telescopic gate needs much less excavation and a smaller retaining wall, saving money and has less disruption to a property. Motors for telescopic gates need to be even more powerful, in fact 1.5 times more for 2 panels and 2 1/3 more for 3. A block and rail guide system is used with telescopic gates because it is the least visible from the road, although the blocks and channels need to be at right angles with the guide rail, so end up at an odd angle to the vertical members of the gate and the guide post. Considering this, a telescopic gate with a level top may be a better option, as this keeps the guide blocks and channels nice and square. If opening downhill, the guide rails can be at the top of each panel because the nylon guide blocks move down as the gate opens. If opening uphill, the guide rails still need to be low enough so the guide blocks don't rise above the panel or guide post behind it. To keep the height of each panel more consistent, the tops can be stepped. Although the guide rails for these should really be lowered down by at least the amount of the step, even if the gate is opening downhill. This is so the nylon blocks and their channels aren't visible from the road. Same applies if opening uphill with stepped tops. The guide rails must be lower so the guide blocks and channels aren't visible from the road. Slope from the direction of the road has little effect, so long as the footing has the same slope as the driveway in both directions. The motor pad must be level and at a height that allows water to run around it, yet not too high, otherwise it might not line up with the bottom of the gate. A common mistake is to make the second half of the footing level, so the track needs to rise up a step. But this does not work.